Becky and I have been friends since kindergarten. She was always prettier and more popular, while I liked to study. By the age of 5, I could already read and write. And since I was bilingual and I also started to learn a third language, I could already speak 3 languages. Despite all my attempts to learn, she was the one who was always praised. I didn't mind that, as I liked to be in her shadow. Being on the spot made me feel nervous, and I was scared someone would make fun of me. We kept together with each other no matter what, and we also went to the same primary school and then middle school. When we were in high school, Becky started to get really interested in celebrities and influencers. I never really cared about all that. After all, I was the brainy kid. Nothing changed in that department, even at this point. She'd spend hours on Pictogram to study how models pose, and she was practicing those same poses in front of the mirror. She became obsessed with how she looked. No matter how pretty she already was, she was constantly comparing herself to all those models and how one was thinner than her, one had lusher hair. I tried to be a good friend and I supported her, but I also started to worry. I could see that she was building up insecurities, but she didn't want to listen to me. One time, I sat in her room as always, and she was comparing herself again and again. She asked me, how fat was she? Could you believe it? How fat? That question is problematic on its own, but the biggest problem for me was actually the fact that Becky was really slim. She could easily be a model on one of those magazine covers. I told her, Becky, stop being so hard on yourself. You're already beautiful, and I think you're better than all of those models altogether. I didn't expect what would happen next. Becky only looked at me with that cold look in her eyes and said without any kindness in her voice, maybe if you were pretty, you would understand how much physical appearance matters. I felt how her words mercilessly pierced my heart. How could she be so cruel? Yes, I didn't care about how I looked, but I also believed that what mattered most is someone's personality. My friend was always kind, and now she sounded like a monster. I started to cry, and she looked down and sighed. I'm sorry, she said, and continued. I didn't mean that. I think my inner anger took over. And I said something cruel just to hurt you. You're my friend, and I thought you were in my life to support me, but it seems to me that my dreams of becoming an influencer don't matter enough to you. I was shocked. Was I a bad friend all along? I simply didn't want her to feel bad about her body. I kneeled down and hugged her. I felt ashamed of myself, and since Becky said she didn't mean that, I wanted to believe her. However, things didn't go smooth. Becky soon created an account on VicVoc, the most trend-setting app in the world. The entire point of the app was to post funny, cute, or some other short videos that people can share and like. It was a massive producer of virals. Some of the VicVoc vids were going as popular as 100 million views. I was probably the only girl at school who didn't use VicVoc at that time, so obviously I didn't know too much about what's trendy now. As Becky's popularity was on the rise, she started to be surrounded by popular girls, even those who were older than us. One time, I managed to catch her alone and I confronted her about it. Hey, listen, Becky, we've known each other for years, and lately you've stopped hanging out with me. Is everything all right? Becky stared at me with that same cold look and the same tone she'd used that evening. She asked, Are you jealous of my new friends? I was surprised. I wasn't jealous of her at all, but since kindergarten, we were always together. Becky, it's not about jealousy. I simply want to be friends like we always have been. But she only laughed and responded, I'm still your friend. I just want to have other friends. And she left. I felt really worried about all of that. I started to feel that maybe I was being paranoid or insecure or projecting my own anxieties onto my friend. However, soon I realized I wasn't. It was a sunny day, and we had our PE class outside. Coach Jenkins ordered us to run around. Becky never trained with us. She had medical documentation that stated that because of her fragile bone structure, she's prone to injuries, and she can only train under the supervision of a well-qualified personal trainer. I knew it was on the lie, and that document was written by Becky's dad's friend, but I never revealed her secret. So, as we ran around the training yard, Becky and a few other girls were sitting aside with their phones, and they seemed to have plenty of fun. As I was running next to them, Becky suddenly called me. I looked at her, and I didn't realize that someone quickly put a wheeled bin in front of me. The accident was terrible. I wasn't hurt or anything, but in front of everyone, I fell down the bin. I was stuck in trash from my head down to my waist. Since it was a sunny, hot day, the garbage was rotting quicker and the smell made me sick. As soon as Coach Jenkins helped me get out, I vomited. I was covered in garbage juice and my own vomit. Our coach escorted me back to the locker room where I could take a shower and change. My mom picked me up from school early, but I didn't want to talk to her. I felt so embarrassed because everyone I knew from school saw me. I only hoped that everyone would soon forget. In the evening, I got a short text from Becky that said, "I hope you are better, XOXO." I replied with a long wall of text telling her how anxious I felt after that and that I was always clumsy, but never that clumsy. All I got in return was Becky leaving me on red. The next day after school, I felt everyone look at me. From a gray goose and unknown to anyone girl, I became weirdly popular, but I felt it wasn't in a good way. People were looking at me. They whispered behind my back. Some of them even giggled as they saw me. I thought that someone told somebody else about my accident, and now a lot of people knew. However, the truth turned out to be worse. When I was changing in the locker room, all the girls kept away from me. As I was always changing rather slow, I was left alone with an outside girl called Lucy. Lucy joined our class just a few weeks earlier, and she seemed to be one of those alternative girls who simply don't keep up with the normies like me or Becky. Lucy looked at me and smiled. "It's a tough time, eh?" she asked, and I had no clue what she meant. I asked her about it, and she seemed surprised that I didn't know what she was referring to. She took out her phone from her locker and scrolled. Then she passed her phone to me, and I felt my heart stop beating for a moment. On Becky's account, name XX Princess Becky XX, there was a video from yesterday titled Trash Girl. On the clip, I saw how she recorded me falling into the garbage can, and in the comments section, she was roasting me alongside her followers. We were friends for over 12 years, and now she was publicly making fun of me on her account. "I can't believe she did that," I said, and I felt a hot tear start to grow on my cheek. "Don't worry about her," said Lucy. "The girls like her aren't worth much. She pranked you awfully, and if you ever thought about her as your friend, then she never deserved that title." I was surprised that someone turned out to be supportive, but at this point, I felt too embarrassed. I called my parents to pick me up early again, but I didn't reveal the truth to them. Because of the viral Trash Girl, I became super popular. Everyone at school knew me now, and I wasn't even the nerd I used to be, but Trash Girl. Trash Girl became my new name for everyone, and sometimes I felt that even teachers knew about the clip and laughed at me. My mental health was getting worse, and soon I wasn't even able to leave my room. My parents were stressed about the whole situation, and the only supportive person I had was Lucy. I even needed to delete all my social media because they were flooded with random people writing on my feed nasty things about me. I was in a dark place, and I didn't allow anyone to help me. I felt I was doomed. Lucy, however, behind my back, told my parents the truth. They managed to get me into good treatment and started homeschooling. Even more, they managed to get that awful viral video taken down and Becky's account temporarily blocked. But all those attempts were in vain. The video was so popular that strangers were re-uploading it from their accounts, and Becky's popularity grew even bigger. Lucy came up with an idea that we could transfer to a different school. Her grandmother lived on the opposite side of the states, and nearby there was one of the best high schools in the entire country. Lucy and I applied for the transfer, and we were soon accepted with congratulations letters in which our new principal expressed how glad she was that we would be joining their school. I was nervous traveling across the country, but Lucy was with me. The first few days in school were normal, but soon the whispers and looks started again. Fortunately, I found my refuge in the school's library, which was huge. I spent hours there each and every day. It wasn't a popular place, so I often felt cozy there. One day, as I was browsing through the books, my hand met with somebody else's hand. I quickly took mine away and felt someone staring at me. I looked up and I saw a handsome guy who had beautiful dark eyes and messy brown hair. He smiled at me and said, "Hey." I felt how my cheeks turned pink, and shyly I responded with a quiet, "Hey." For a moment, we just stared at each other, and then he asked, "Do you also like to read about ancient Rome?" And I nodded. "You don't need to be shy around me. You see, it's my secret, but I'm a huge nerd." He laughed, and his laughter was pure and gentle. I smiled and said, "If you're a true nerd, then let's go on trivia night at the local cafe tonight." I don't know what possessed me as I said that, but the boy, despite being surprised, agreed. That evening, I prepared carefully to look my best, and Lucy was joking about my first date. "It's not a date, we're just going for trivia," I said, but she only laughed and joked, "Sure, sure." The guy, whose name was Aaron, arrived on time, and to my surprise, he brought a small bouquet of flowers he made on his way. "I thought you might like them," he said shyly, and I felt my heart grow bigger. We went out for trivia night, and it turned out we were both huge nerds. I can't decide who was better, as we were both always right. Aaron was mesmerized with my character and knowledge, and after our night together, he was walking me back home and said, "Wow, Aaron, I was waiting my whole life to meet a girl like you." I was surprised, since I always thought of myself to be so ordinary. But I looked at him and asked, "Seriously?" "Yes, intellect and character are the most important qualities in women. So many girls only care about their looks, and they forget that we're young only for the moment, and you should find true love not in looks, but in somebody's heart." After his confession, we shared a kiss, and soon we started to officially date. One day, Lucy saw us together as Aaron was walking me back home, and she looked shocked. "Aaron Smith? Are you Aaron Smith?" She seemed way too excited. My boyfriend looked down and said, "Yeah, your friend's boyfriend. And I guess you must be Lucy, right?" Lucy was jumping around. "Oh my God, I can't believe Aaron Smith knows my name." And I looked at her and at my boyfriend, puzzled. Yeah, my boyfriend was Aaron Smith, but so what about it? Lucy looked at me and realized how clueless I was. Then she looked at my boyfriend and said, "Aaron doesn't use social media. She probably doesn't know who you are." He looked at me and said, "Aaron knows the real me, and she knows that I'm her boyfriend. You should come back to our house and we can help your girlfriend to realize who she's dating," Lucy said, and took Aaron and me inside. For the next 3 hours, I sat down with my friend and boyfriend, and we were discussing Aaron's career as an influencer. He turned out to be one of the most popular gamers, and his streams were watched by millions of people. For the first time since I knew Aaron, I felt anxious. We never spoke about me being the trash girl, and I was afraid he would reject me after he learned the truth. I always believed that I should be myself, and with a heavy heart, I told Aaron the truth. And I even found the trash girl viral video to show him. He looked disgusted at the video. I was sure he would now break up with me, but he pulled me closer and kissed my forehead. "Whoever pulled that prank on you was a monster. I'm so sorry you went through all of that." I never expected my boyfriend to be so loving, but I felt happy that he didn't turn out to be one of those guys who only cared about his popularity. As he was showing me his account on Pictogram, I saw that all of his photos were liked and commented on by Becky. Yes, the very same Becky who turned my life into hell. I asked him about her, and he said, "That girl is really creepy. She stalks me and sends me private messages inviting me to her house, suggesting we should date." I was terrified to hear that my boyfriend was my biggest enemy's crush, and I told him that it was Becky who pranked me. I told him the entire story of our friendship, and he looked sad. "I'm so sorry, Aaron, it happened to you, but someone as toxic as her shouldn't have a platform. She can influence teenagers," he said. He pulled me closer, then he added, "Now smile." Aaron took a picture of us, and he quickly uploaded onto his Pictogram account. Just a few seconds later, he got a private message from Becky, who warned him that the girl he called his girlfriend was an infamous trash girl. He screenshotted her message and put it in his stories. Within one night, Becky lost plenty of her followers. I couldn't believe what happened, but my relationship with Aaron grew even stronger. Aaron also proposed I start a new account on social media and come forward with my story. He said that plenty of people are mistreated online, and an important voice like mine can help them. At first, I was skeptical, but now, a few years later, I know I did right. Together with Aaron, we're still a couple, and my new social media personality of famous trash girl helps thousands of people to accept and stand up for themselves. I know that I can't prevent all of the Beckys of this world to stop being mean, but at least one of them lost not only her crush, but also her popularity.